All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 1879 actual play. We are getting underway here. I am Brad Decker. I'm the line developer for 1879, and if everybody wants to do their introductions, and we'll figure out the recap, I will start doing the posts everywhere.
Hi, I'm Joel. I'm one of the 1879 writers. I'm playing Morgana, uh, Elven Aristocrat.
I am River, an elven explorer. I apparently shoot things and find things to shoot.
And I'm Michelle, and I play August, and he's an elven investigator.
And
Not an
Brad
elf
plays,
investigator.
he's not limited to investigating elves. And Brad plays our token human, a Galvanic Mage. Not that he's told any of us yet. We all think he's an engineer.
I'm Andi, and I'm here. And I'm pretty sure I'm just here for squirreling and commentary. Yeah, that sounds right. I can totally be a good squirrel, and I can totally make snarky comments. Yay! Good me. Oh, and I'm the GM, supposedly. Supposedly. So I go back to my question of who is going to do my recap. Okay, that means August is recapping.
Oh no, I was going to say Bagsy, not me. I don't do recaps well. Joel, will you do it?
Oh, you'll
I
do
can do
great.
it.
And anything that you don't say, somebody else will jump in and say. That's how that works.
No. I'll let Joel do it. I nominate
I'll
Joel.
do it. I'll do it. That's fine. So have been hired to investigate the disappearance slash murder of Mrs. Kathleen Thomas, a not particularly nice old lady who lives in a very nice part of London. We are making progress in the case, though not finding a lot of suspects. On the other hand, our investigations have led us to a lady who sells lard and animal fats to various houses. And this lady was definitely in the neighborhood at the appropriate time and has been acting strangely. When we tried to talk to her last time, she was very evasive and basically told us to go away, but probably not much less polite, a bit less politely than that, but not very impolitely. However, looking at her, she has something wrong with her pattern, her spirit appears to have been altered, and she appears to have become nastier over the last few months. Some of her neighbours say it must be something in the water and are probably just happy it's not cholera, because that was definitely a thing in 1870s London. Our investigations seem to suggest that the murder coincided with a problem with the recently fitted electric street lighting and fitted in with a blackout, which we initially thought might be someone causing it to facilitate removing of corpses. But it's one of several such incidents, and many across the city over the last few months. And several of those appear to be linked with murders, all of which appear to be unexpected and sudden and very aggressive, which would fit with what we had worked out from Mrs. Thomas's death, from what we could tell from the murder scene. So we are now starting to suspect there is something strange and supernatural going on, though whether it's the cause of the blackouts or just causing them for its advantage, we still have yet to work out. I think that covers everything.
Yeah, you have, I believe it's seven murders in the last 8 months, something like that, all of which have a blackout attached. You know the name and dates of the murdered people, but not necessarily a lot of information, just the initial news article. And you guys were going
Yes.
to learn more about that, and I believe that's where we're at.
Yep. We had found out that one of the murders was the husband murdering the wife, and he was arrested in the scene covered in her blood, which seemed extreme. But that's the only one we got any detail over.
Sorry, which one was the one that you had detail on? I missed. Didn't hear
We
you.
had what detail of one murder, a husband murdering his wife, and the
Right.
husband was arrested at the scene, completely covered in her blood, which just seems to have been he just completely lost it, which is unusual. We figured.
Well, without deeper investigation, yeah. Like, was he an abusive spouse? Was he like this all the time? And this was an escalation and they just hid it? You guys don't really know. But you do know that it was apparently very graphic.
Yes, because I believe that was what we could find out from looking through newspapers about them. So
Yeah.
Knowledge weather for moon phases during those murders.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Seeing if there's a commonality.
Nope. I mean, some of them are in the same moon phase, but it seems to be fairly random, much like the locations.
And completely random, like not every 2 weeks, every month on the same.
Yep. No commonality as far as the same day of the month, every third Tuesday, nothing like that.
So the only thing is power somehow going out in an area.
Yep. And the only person who caught that was George, because that's something that George is good at catching. Because he was paying attention to the power things. Okay, so where are you going to look for just newspaper articles? Are you going to look for oh goodness, the police station? Where do
nearest
you
police
guys want to look?
stations, nearest police stations, and in the neighbourhood, I would have thought to ask
Yeah,
around.
perfectly good place to start.
Because I suspect, given Victorian justice, talking to any of the capture perpetrators may be tricky, not without going and tracking down James, our medium friend.
Could very well be.
Yeah, unless they were fairly recent.
Well, most of them have, I mean, all of them have been in the last few months. So, I mean, they've all been in the last 8 months. If you believe that the one you're investigating is dead, you could ask James to talk to her. She'd be very recent. It would also tell you whether or not she's actually dead. I mean, that's a thing. So,
I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm not exactly enthused about having a ghost throw something at me again.
No, I'm not hugely into that one myself.
Oh, that's why we do it at the rich person's house. Everything's so heavy that it won't possibly be thrown at us.
Yes, because that's entirely how that's going to work.
Well, it's a frail old woman. Like, she'd have the strength to do it.
All right, so I guess 1 through 7, 1 through 6, really, and let's see. One was 2 months ago in Webster's neighborhood, so that would have been number 5.
Were you going to get us a list of them, or?
Kind
There
of
is a list of
looking, and then number 2 was the husband and wife. And I will get you their names because you would know those. And their names were Diane and Scott Allen.
There we go. I suppose it helps if
Which
I actually
one?
pull up the documents, the
So,
shared doc.
so
So
I'll fill in
you'll be
information as you guys, but you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
I guess we just start working backwards. Most recent first would be
yeah. So
my
start at
So,
6.
start at 6, then go to 5, then obviously back to 1.
okay. So that number 6 is George Phillips. From the newspaper article, you know that he was 49. He was a bachelor. I don't know if I can spell bachelor today. There you go.
That was right.
He was found by the maid service at his flat. Very middle class. Very middle class area. He worked at a oh goodness, there's a better term for this. He sold shoes.
Cobbler.
Cobbler. He worked at a cobbler. Yeah. The article alluded to a unusual crime scene, but the police wouldn't fill in any details.
Or it might be a cordwainer.
So
Back
that's what
in
you
the
know
day.
from the article. So where do you want to go? Who do you want to talk to? The police first?
Well, we could, go and talk to the police. Possibly on the way, ask around a little in the neighbourhood.
Is that what everybody wants to do? Police first? Everybody, yes? I'm imagining you're all shaking your head, yes. All right.
I guess that would be the first port of call, wouldn't it? The police, if presumably they've been notified.
Well, the police know about it. Like I said, the article refers to that the police refer to it as a, quote, unusual crime scene. But there's no other details. So, police station. Okay.
Yep.
It's a very typical looking police station. It says, it's labeled on the front. It's got a big kind of double door. There's kind of reception's not the right word, but pretty much there's a guy at a desk who kind of points you where to go if you add the thing or if he takes a comment or whatever.
Quick question: are we on the same day as last time for karma purposes, or after our research into the newspapers, have we had a night's sleep?
That's a good question, and I think you'd be better off getting a night's sleep, but you guys actually don't have to do that.
I'm happy to get a night's sleep because I could do with some karma.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Everybody okay with it being the next day and getting a good night's rest?
Sounds like a plan.
Because we did go and talk to Miss Webster, and then jumped around and talked to George and got some information, and then went and spent quite a bit of time reading through stuff. So it seems sensible. Also, having karma would be great.
Isn't karma nice?
14 on the
for
first.
Yes, Brad, Lexi.
Oh yeah, I'm totally fine. So then that would put us on Tuesday the 5th.
That sound correct? I think sounds correct. Yeah. All right.
Head into the police station, proffer my card, introduce myself, probably not using the full titles, but letting it say unspoken, and make a 14 on the first impression to ask the sergeant behind the desk if we may make a couple of inquiries about a case that was investigated from this police station.
Well, he seems like a nice guy, or at least your first impressions helped, and he seems a helpful, nice guy. He actually directs you to a detective who, luckily, he's in right now. And basically, it's like go down around the desk, down the hall. He should be in that area. You guys go down around the hall. It's a pretty open area. There's about 6 desks. There seems to be about 10 people in here milling around. And they're all talking. I don't want to say over one another, but they're all talking. And they're so busy kind of talking with each other that most of them don't even look up when you come in, or they're just so used to people coming in and out. They just, a couple of them do, mostly because there's quite a few of you. And one of them, a lady, comes over and is like, "Can I help you? Are you here to make a report?"
No, I would like to speak to detective. Insert detective names here. I was told he would be here. The sergeant on the desk directed us here.
Oh yeah. Which case?
The George Phillips murder.
Oh. Who are you with? We're not talking to the to newspapers right now about that case.
We're not with newspapers. We are investigators. We came across some links between another case on another case we were working on in a different part of
Really?
London, and we think we may have a lead, but well,
I'm sure you hand over your card.
I hand over the card, introduce myself, Morgana Temple
Yeah.
Whitworth, introduce
She kind of
my friends quickly.
hollers, for lack of a better term, over at a guy and is like, "Hey, Paul, come over here. You're gonna want to talk to these guys." And this very kind of lanky, probably the youngest guy in the room, comes over. He's very tall. He's very thin, almost awkwardly lanky. Yeah. He's like, "Can I help you?"
Yes, I'll offer him my hand. I'm Morgana Temple Whitworth. These are my associates. And I will quickly run through Nigel Fullwood, August and River. I will use full names where I know them. I don't think I have a surname for River. August Ford and Miss River. We're investigating a case of our own. Once again, preferring the card, and some of the information we've collected points it to being potentially connected to the murder of George Phillips a little over a month ago.
Okay. What do you think links your case, and which case is it?
They were, there was an unusual outage, I think is the correct term. I'll glance at Nigel for confirmation, of the electric street lighting at the time that occurred. We found several instances that occurred over the last few months, each of which appear to have coincided with a particularly vicious and unpleasant murder.
And he kind of burrows his brow. He kind of furrows his brow, and he kind of walks back, opens up a desk drawer, pulls out a notebook, and as he's walking back, he's flipping through it. Yeah, several people said that the street lights went out for a while. Did you tell him which murder you were working on?
Not as yet, no.
But he'll ask again, because
the murder of Mrs. Kathleen Thomas in Mayfair.
I heard about that. They had a power outage there too.
Yes, and what we can tell is the attack was sudden, potentially unexpected, and much more violent than required. We thought we'd come and pick the brains of yourself because, we may be able to solve multiple cases at once.
Waves all of you into a kind of a back room where there's a table and some chairs, because there are chairs out here, but they're kind of scattered around desks, and it's not enough for all of you to sit at one place. So he kind of brings you back to kind of like a conference room. There's a pitcher of water and some glasses, but he doesn't offer tea or anything like that. He just kind of sits down and goes, "Yeah. Look, I probably shouldn't, and if I find out that you actually are lying and you're with the papers, it's not going to go well for you. Understand that."
Of course.
But I have been absolutely stymied on this case. Like, I'm getting nowhere. The damn thing doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I'm willing to share if you are.
Naturally.
So he starts going through his notes, and he actually kind of starts with this is what I know about the victim. So he worked at the Cobblers. He was a salesperson. He was a confirmed bachelor. Apparently, he was a bit of a womanizer. There are several women who apparently thought that he was going to settle down and marry them, and he did not. And I mean, he looked into it, and I mean, several of them totally were angry enough to kill him, but none of them were super recent. And quite frankly, women don't usually do this type of crime. Outside of that, he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. I mean, the one part kind of makes him a bad guy, but outside of that, he had friends and he was liked, and he had a brother, and I believe his parents are deceased. There's no major red flags. The crime scene is weirder than hell. The man was all but torn apart. Like, damn near dismembered. They had to have used some sort of like axe, hatchet, machete, some sort of big blade. But there wasn't, like, there should have been blood everywhere. Like, everywhere. And there really wasn't that much blood. And he can't find any tracks. So, like, nobody seemed to see a bloody, because the person should have been covered in blood having done this, right? Nobody seemed to have seen anybody covered in blood running around afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there should have been a person covered in blood who left that scene.
Yes.
Somebody would have seen that. Like, even at that hour, surely somebody would have seen it, because it was, as far as they can tell, then they don't have an exact hour. It was probably at night. They're pretty sure they know which night. Like, the coroner can tell you, like, it was 2 days ago type of thing when the maid came in.
Well, on that regard,
But
we can
nobody,
provide time frames because of the power fluctuations.
which helps, because that narrows it down to a 2 to 3 hour window. Whereas what he had is it was on this particular night. Like, he went home from work, he met some guys at a pub, had some, talked. He talked up at some girl at the bar type of thing. They know he left. There's a few people who even saw him, like, going into the apartment complex. And then he didn't go to work the next day. He didn't go to work the day after that. His boss was really ticked off because, like, it's not normal for him to do this, especially 2 days in a row where he just doesn't show up and doesn't, send a message or anything. And then the maid came in and found what remains of him. And so, if the power outage is, and you guys know when the power outage was from like 9 o'clock at night until 11 midnight, something like that. Surely somebody would have seen a bloody person leaving. I mean, he can recanvas now knowing a better time frame. It kind of sucks that now you're, close to 2 months apart, and people's memories aren't great for that type of shit. But he's going to recanvas, but it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it has to be said, in the murder of Mrs. Thomas, while many people, how to put this delicately, she was the sort of person who gathered motives for murder. She was not well liked, cantankerous, and difficult by all accounts. But what we could find at the crime scene, our appointed August examined it and said there was no body, but it showed signs of multiple stabs. A frenzied attack, I think is how you put it.
Yes. He's like, what about the blood?
There was a lot of blood at the scene, soaked into the bedding, but her body and we presume most of the rest of the blood had been gone. We presume taken out of the window, which was open, and there were signs of somebody climbing in and out, or certainly climbing in one direction.
And nobody saw a bloody person leaving with a body?
No one we've talked to, the one potential witness we've talked to was acting suspiciously. But we fear there may be I think we are making something a profession of investigating unusual cases. There appear to be some sort of potentially strange influence on our potential witness, and she was not particularly cooperative.
On that note, it is worth making mention that the power outages that were being seen are physical impossibilities because they are interrupting at the center of the circuit. And if he's confused on that point, I'll use the same explanation I used last time. It's like you've created a dam in the river, but 3 miles down the river, the water's still flowing. It's just that middle section that's cut out.
That helps. To be honest, he doesn't really. Electricity's fairly new, and he doesn't really get it. So that actually helps a lot.
But yeah, so bottom line is this is a physical impossibility, so we're dealing with something supernatural.
He's a bit uncomfortable with that, by the way. I know you're all completely shocked that someone would be uncomfortable with that, but he is. He's he's very much writing tons of notes during this whole discussion. He'd like to know the name of the sort of suspect that you have.
We'll glance around the room to get an idea whether people think we should at this point.
I will nod. I don't have a problem giving that information. I mean, this guy's being helpful, so I don't think he's going to follow us up.
Her name is Kate Webster. She is a seller of lard. Does a lot of deliveries in the early hours of the morning to houses in several neighborhoods.
I wonder if she works this neighborhood.
She may do, and there was one of these power outages took place in her neighborhood about 2 months ago, or a little bit before.
Really?
It's Phillips, and she is noted as she's been acting strangely and out of character. She's become more hostile and unpleasant.
Huh.
And one of our other colleagues who is not present because he's off doing some research for us on the mystical side. He has connections. Said that there appeared to have been something happened to. He called it her path, and as I understand it, it's something has affected her magically that's left a mark that only mages can see. Helpful, I know.
He makes some comment about that basically, well, equivalates to, I hate that fucking shit. Like, police work was hard enough without that stuff.
As it stands, we don't know whether she is really a suspect or another victim in all of this.
You said there was another murder in that area. What do you know about it?
Not a lot at the moment. It's, well, as you could imagine, not the best of neighborhoods and not quite as well covered in the press as Mr. Phillips's murder or Mrs. Thomas's murder.
Sad, but that kind of is a thing.
Well, and
Yeah, everybody
we're
wants to
starting
know
at the
about
most
this one.
recent
They all
and
want to know
working our
about.
way back.
You guys do know the name of that one. His name is Arthur Davies.
And a gentleman named Arthur Davies. Not a lot more details than that at the moment.
And you said which neighborhood? You guys,
Well,
if you want, can give him the neighborhood and the time, because you know
yes.
those. And you, like I said, he is furiously writing notes on this.
You, of course, understand we deeply appreciate you not making, well, any moves against Miss Webster until we've had a chance to ascertain what's happened to her.
No, but I may ask around about this Davies case and see what I can find out. Got a chap who I used to know. We went through training together. He works over at that in that precinct. Honestly, he's better at this mumbo jumbo junk. Matter of fact, why don't we all just go talk to him?
That would be a reasonable plan, I think.
And he looks back over at the lady who waved you to him, and he's basically like, hey, Carol, I'm gonna go and look into some stuff. And she's like, don't forget you have other cases. And you can actually see his shoulders kind of slump a little. He's like, of course not, ma'am. And he heads out.
An investor going out to investigate? Preposterous.
Oh, that should never happen.
It's mostly that to a degree, and if you talk to him, he kind of alludes to the upper brass thinks that this is a lost cause, that it's just not a solvable case. And it's, 2 months and it's cold. So there are other things and other cases they think he should focus on. But it's really bothering him personally that he can't figure this out. Although this, weird new magic-y mumbo jumbo supernatural junk, that could explain a lot. Even though he doesn't actually have any understanding of any of that, the answer is some magic BS. Okay, that's an answer. If that makes sense to you guys.
Yep.
So you guys all go
Sounds
to the
very
other
familiar.
precinct. Do you have any other questions for him on the way?
I don't think much other than just making general friendly conversation. In this line of work, it's going to be a good idea to have a good contact in the police.
Okay. So you guys go. Sorry, August. Did you have something?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I
I-
didn't miss what you're saying.
Yeah. No, it was just that I was. Another character of mine was empathizing with Paul.
Yes. Like, from all you guys can tell, Paul actually cares about his job. He tries really hard, but he knows nothing of supernatural mumbo jumbo. stuff. Other than it's really annoying because since he doesn't know anything about it and doesn't know how it works, it makes a lot of things harder to solve.
Yeah, he'd get on with my Henry.
Yeah, he would totally get along with Henry. They could go and have a pint and discuss how it's all crud.
Yep.
So you guys go down. You have zero problems getting into the precinct. Zero problems getting back. He basically is like, hey, send so and so up and invite so and so to go have lunch with you guys. Go down to the pub and eat. You guys get a table kind of out of the way. Apparently, both of these guys, they know each other. Two, they've been to this pub a few times. Like it's a regular place. They go there and have lunch every now and then anyhow. So no real issues there. The other officer's name is Jack. And what was Jack's last name? I have that someplace. Barker. Now, Jack is not a detective, but he works in that precinct. He knows stuff, and if he doesn't know, he'll be able to point you to the detective. What do you guys want to know, or how do you start?
Joel, check your settings.
You know, River and Nigel and August can talk too.
He tried that.
I've been adding stuff.
Did we lose?
I think
Morgana?
he's adjusting audios.
Ah, okay. That happens.
I'll go help him. Hang on.
Let's see. We just sold Kate up the river. You might have. Yes, the normal bollocks he can cope with. The weird stuff, no. Yeah, no, he doesn't care for that stuff at all.
So we have Paul is the detective and John was the beat cop.
Jack.
Yeah.
So it's Paul Robinson, and the officer that you guys are talking to now is Jack Barker. And he's a street officer, whereas Paul is a detective.
Just do a quick check. Is my mic now working?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Or what was that, Joel?
Just checking if my mic was working. I just had a headphone issue, but no, great. I was figuring we'd probably just sketch out what we're looking at, and what we know, and then ask about what he knows of the case with Arthur Davies.
Okay, I think I missed that last bit. You're going to do what about Arthur Davies?
Sketch
Oh,
out
you're just
what
going to
we
try to
know.
get what general information he has first? Is that what you said?
Yes.
All right. Arthur Davies is in Webster's neighborhood, so it's not a great neighborhood. What Jack knows, the guy is a drunk. Arthur Davies was a drunk. He was oh, kind of an asshole. Here we go, arsehole, because maybe that won't get me in trouble. He worked as a bouncer at a pub in the neighborhood. He was, however, found, unlike most of the other two that you know of that were found in their homes, he was found in an alley behind.
Alley behind his home or behind his work?
Behind the pub. He was the last one out of the pub that night. The owner, bartender, actually lives above. And he was tired. It had been a long night. He just basically told Arthur to lock up on his way out. So that's the last person to have spoken to him.
Was he brutally murdered like the others?
Yeah, he was almost decapitated.
And this is the one that's in Kate's area.
Mm-hmm. He was almost decapitated. There was blood, but it was kind of weird because, like, from what he heard, like, there should have been more blood. Like, there should have been blood splattered around, type of thing. And of course, yet again, the power outage, totally there, and nobody saw a bloody person walk away. And this one would have been closer to somewhere between, say, 2 and 4 a.m. So it was, after the pub closed. His body was found early that next morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, by one of the neighbors, who's a baker.
Could it be like some magic parasite?
Are you
I know-
asking me or asking
No,
your?
I'm posing it as an actual question. Like, I know horses get weird when they get worms.
Anybody have an answer?
Well, I don't think there's been any odd behavior described in any of the victims prior to their deaths.
Beyond Mrs. Thomas having been a much nicer person when she was younger, but that seems deeply outside of the timescale of this, and considerably pre the rabbit hole opening.
And was hinted to, tied to the fact that her husband was stepping out, and that she became very bitter after that. But that was
Yeah.
a very long time ago.
Yes, yeah, I didn't think it was a particularly relevant, but it's the closest we've got. But
Anybody, evidence analysis, investigation? Want to make a roll? See if their character notices something that they didn't.
Yeah, because I'm not spotting anything. I'll make a roll for August. Hang on a sec. Oh, that's probably spotted even less than I have. 7. And that's with karma. Whoa.
Oof.
Yeah.
Anybody else other than that 7? Because otherwise, I'll roll for Paul.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything that would be particularly relevant here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll roll for Paul. Paul can use karma on this. Aha. Paul kind of looks as he's writing notes, because he writes notes almost constantly, really. How much of a arse was the guy? And Jack kind of looks down and is like, pretty bad. He was accused of doing some stuff that a gentleman wouldn't do. Unfortunately, it was a big he said, she said thing, and he told the court she was lying, and he walked. I mean, we looked into it. I mean, the guys looked into it, but they don't think that she could have had the strength to actually. I mean, like I said, it was almost decapitated. And she's got several family members who all say that she was home with them. Kind of a shady alibi, if you ask me, but technically she has an alibi.
Well, even so, that still wouldn't explain the power fluctuations or provide any other sort of connection with the other murders.
It does. It's well, I'm not calling it.
There's the particularly vicious, weird or lacking of blood patterns, and the power outage. And the fact that nobody ever seems to see whoever walked away from the stuff, even though they should be gory as heck.
And everybody who's committing a murder has an existing motive, or
They're jerks. Or bad people.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
all bad people so far.
I was possibly going to quite stretch that far, but they've certainly, yes, they've wronged people. Mrs. Thomas was, shall we say, renowned for it. Mr. Phillips appears to be something of a cad, and what was the word you used? Asshole for Mr. Davies?
He's accused of, and I'm just gonna give this to you guys because you'll look into it, I'm sure. That's not the first time he's been accused of what did they say? SA, because you can't say the royal words because it messes with the one thing.
Advantage of a lady.
Yeah. It starts with the letter R. And it's in therapist.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's not the second or third time he's been accused of it. If you guys look into it, which I'm sure you guys will. And if you don't, Paul's going to look into it. I guarantee that.
Well, so Mr. Davies was a piece of work.
So yeah, Davies is a piece of work. the other guy, especially in this time period, if you think about it, being a cad and then let's just go with the term deflowering someone ruins their reputation. And for women, that is a problem in this time period. Right? And Kath Thompson or Thomas, whatever, she's what? Racist, religionist, everything. Like she's just a mean, hateful
Bigot.
human.
Bigoted actually quite nicely sums her up. As nice as that is. They were all people that people would have reason to hate and wish violence upon, and something caused people to act on those impulses.
Yep. Which at this point, Paul suspects, in part because nothing else has made any sense, that it's this weird supernatural mumbo jumbo crud.
Yeah, Paul says that you have a lot of experience with the weird stuff. Is there any thoughts into what it could be?
Jack Barker has no idea. Like, he's got nothing. Paul's not sure. Like, he can ask some other officers, detective-y types that maybe know more about that stuff than him, which is probably what he's going to do. But quite frankly, it's almost hitting above his pay grade. And he really hates that supernatural mumbo jumbo BS. He really does, with a passion.
Can't blame him.
Do we have sufficient evidence here yet to get the Knights of the Grail involved, or is this still below their pay grade?
Especially the Arcane Crimes branch, but even then, I think I'd quite like to see this one through.
For Paul doesn't think it's quite there yet, but if you have the same type of connection in the other, what, you guys have another like 3 murders to look into? If they all have a similar connection, then yeah, he totally thinks that the Knights of the Grail is an option. Right now, it feels like this is the right direction for him, but going to the Knights of the Grail, if you're not sure, turns them off on listening to you the next time.
Right.
So for him, like, he's actually very much interested in going with you and looking into the other ones.
Yeah, I think we need to get all the information first.
On the plus side, you now have a detective with you, which will make it very easy to get information from the police districts.
Oh, absolutely. That will help phenomenally.
But yeah, for him, going to the Knights, he doesn't want to go prematurely.
No, and that's entirely understandable. I didn't know. The question was asked more in character of how much do they actually need.
Yeah. In character, he wants to check out these other murders that you guys think are connected. And then he wants to take it to the Knights because the weird power outage, which according to you can't happen,
Mm-hmm.
the weird blood issues, and then this whole kind of, for lack of a, I mean, like, theme of their nasty individuals. And the fact that he cannot get a good, like, lead on anything.
And the strange compulsion, for lack of a better term, that we were seeing surrounding Kate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which he hasn't seen that, and he can't. Like, he
Right.
cannot actually see that, right? So all of that leads him to, this is, yeah, magic mumbo jumbo supernatural crud that is above his pay grade. But he's willing to go with you to the other districts and find more information so that you can take all of it too. So,
Unless there's anything further on this one that Jack might have that would give us any other insights, I'd say let's start
is there any
digging
other
into the
questions?
other ones.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Not at this stage, no.
Okay. Next up, you have Leo Jenkins. Ah, it's going in the wrong hole. Go up there. Go up here. Leo. Leo should be a capital L. Okay. Leo would have, at least Morgana would have probably heard about this one. I mean, keeping in mind it's been like 4 or 5 months since this happened. He was
Yep.
in that type of social range. So definitely upper class.
Secret about the aristocracy?
He would technically be a lord. But it's a technicality more than anything. He married into the family. Basically, this is a merger of my family has money, your family has title, type of thing.
Yeah.
He was a gambler. He was a cad. He basically had gotten so bad with the gambling that he bankrupted the family. But he didn't tell them. He basically is lying and owed money all over the place, and to the point where it was a scandal. Which is part of why I guarantee without even a roll, Morgana has at least heard parts of this.
And I just made the roll. I got a 21. I may have heard the gossip from my brother. If it happened more than a few
With the
months ago.
21, yeah. He basically literally gambled to the point where they were going into the home and taking stuff out of the home. The family's name is completely ruined. And they had a decent name. They had just unfortunately fell on hard times, and Leo's dad basically, I have money, you have title. I'll marry my son to your daughter, right? And then after his dad died, Leo could do what Leo wanted. His dad had kind of kept him under control. Well, without the dad to do that, Leo's a stain just is. He was openly and had been openly cheating on his wife since like day one. He never cared about the marriage. He flaunted it. He literally robbed Peter to pay Paul type of stuff. He would lie. He was lying to other people in that class to get money, claiming to have some big investment on some basically like shipping of spices and stuff in. So you invest in it, this will come in, we'll make all this bank, right?
It
Except
would
there
actually
was
sound.
never a shipment. There was never going to be a payout. And when people would get angry or mad, then like, oh, there was a storm, and that's how investments go.
It
There's
would
never a
sound to me
boat.
like he may have actually approached my brother about funding
Probably.
such a thing, given.
Oh, probably, yeah. Thankfully, your brother's smarter than that,
Oh
and
yes.
paid enough attention that he's done this to so many people. Like, I don't know if you guys have had that person, but when I was younger, there was this couple, and every time they needed a new place to go, it was because the roommates were so awful, and the roommates wouldn't pay, and that's why the evictions and blah blah blah. It was always the roommate's fault, right? Except they would move in with somebody else, and then it was that person's fault. And then they'd move in with somebody else, and it was that person. And it turned out they owed money to pretty much everybody.
Yep. Sometimes the common factor is you.
Yeah. Sometimes the common factor is them. And in this case, the common factor is Leo. I guess his real actual name would be Leopold, but Leo works. But he didn't just bankrupt, like he completely ruined the family's name. I mean, like the wife, she's not quite living in a cardboard box, but she's had to like take a job, which she's never had to do. Like she's working in a factory. She has no job skills, really, right? She has no home. Her name is Mud. So it's not like anybody's even willing to help her because he's ticked off everybody that they know by stealing from them and using them. And he's just an awful, awful man.
So what was the murder scene like for that one?
So he was actually found in what would be. Uh-oh. Wants me to revert my things. Why? What did I lose? Apparently I'm out of sync.
Sanity.
I didn't lose anything. I was trying to fix that. What? All right, somebody else may have to take the notes because it's being hateful. He was actually found in it's one of his mistresses. Well, mistress is actually part a adult worker.
Escort.
Not that high end. He doesn't have the type of money to pull that off.
House of ill repute.
There you go. That's a good way of putting it. He was found in a room there, but it's not one of the rooms where they usually do their job. It's more like a, storage closet. And it's not the
Totally murdered
cleanest of places. So they didn't find him for a little while. He had started to smell, and the smell became noticeable and problematic. So they looked in the storage room. And the scene is again very similar. Like this guy was stabbed a lot. There is blood that was pooled under the body, but there wasn't like bloody footprints that left. There wasn't as much. There wasn't the type of It just wasn't as. The blood stuff just wasn't right. Like there's some blood, but it's not enough blood. It's the what is it? The cast off spray isn't as much there as it should be. It's a house of ill repute. How the heck did someone walk out of that place and nobody see them with the big knife and the bloody should be everywhere, right? Again, this guy has a lot of people who would probably want him gone Like, he robbed a lot of people that Lady Morgana's family would know if she doesn't know directly, and a lot of them she would know directly. They asked around, even the people who worked in that place, many of them didn't like him. Like, he would be rough. They had to basically tell him that he's not allowed to leave permanent marks on the workers or injure them to the point where they can't work later.
How big was the time difference between when the body was found and the power fluctuation?
So he was killed during the power fluctuation. I'm trying to think how long it would take for the body to really start smelling. Was it 3-4 days?
I mean, his body probably didn't smell that great to begin with.
Not particularly, but it wasn't to the point of, oh my gosh, it's smelling outside the room. So I'm trying to think how long it takes for that to happen. You think 48 hours?
36 to 48, day and a half to 2 days. Mostly because of feces.
Also, what time of year was it?
Based on the current time of year, winter. Because it's currently April and this is 3 to 4 months
24
ago.
to 48 hours.
Adding
So-
once again
So
to the list of things that will get me on so many lists if anybody ever looks into my search history that I've done for
How
this
long
game
before
line.
Body starts to smell?
It
You know what,
it says
gaming-
24 to 48 hours.
Yep.
So probably closer to 48 hours if it's during the depths of winter. Would be
Yeah.
my thoughts as to when it actually starts really smelling.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't an outside storehouse.
It's inside, but so we're still looking at 24 to 48 hours. It's winter. I'm assuming winter in England gets dark like winter out here does, where it's dark by 6-7 o'clock.
About 4.
About 4? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're way further north than you realise.
Yeah,
We're
so
like level
London.
with-
That's why I'm
it's
asking, because I don't know stuff.
Yeah, no. London, it
Britain's
gets
on a par
dark
with
about
Quebec.
5.
So the power outage was around 7 to 9 p.m. And it would have been, the power outage would have been a day before they found him. So, so he was found 24 hours later.
Okay.
They remember, people did admit that he was there. They remember him being there, but he didn't have any money, and he already owed money to pretty much everybody, even there. So nobody was willing to work for him. Am I skirting this well enough, Brad?
I think we're fine.
Okay, I'm trying to skirt this well enough.
So this man was in this house for a day and nobody wondered where he went.
No.
He was that decent a person.
Yep. Basically, nobody would work for him, and they went to do other work things and could have given a blank less about the dude.
They were probably just glad to see that he was gone. Or assume that
Pretty
he was gone.
much. He is not well liked.
Well, at least it's consistent with our pattern, I suppose.
Ray Jenkins. Make notes for charitable acts.
Well, it's not her fault she ended up married to an unpleasant person.
Sunrise is 8 a.m.? Oh my gosh, I thought it was awful hair. I am more south than you, I guess. Okay. Any questions on Lord Jenkins?
Unless there's anything else unusual of note. And since he ended up in a closet, there's no signs that the body was moved there.
Nope. I mean, there's no blood leading in and no blood leading out. However, with what you know, he still could have been moved there. Because the blood seems to be very weird.
What was the? Was he also like dismembered or?
Oh, he was stabbed repeatedly many times. Like, probably more than what they suspect your victim was.
So there could also be a massive pool of blood then if he was
But there really
in
wasn't.
there. Oh, was there? Oh no, there wasn't with him, was there?
Did Kathleen Thomas do all the bleeding for all of them, other than, we presume, Mrs. Scott, Mrs. Allen?
But that should
Because that's
be a
all we know
place.
is.
That should be a place where there's people up and around and moving all hours of the day.
Yep.
How does that go unnoticed?
Yep.
Magic and evil pixies.
Morgana will swear to have no idea about such a place, but she imagines it's the sort of place where privacy would be held very highly.
I mean, everybody there kind of minds their own business. I'll give it that. And if you're with a client, you're not paying attention to what's going on in the hallway. And if people are yelling or screaming, that's not completely unheard of and not necessarily checked quickly.
Possibly even.
I wouldn't think so because they would occasionally get raided. They'd need to pay attention for that if they need to run.
Well, I mean,
I'm
as
not
long
sure
as
it's
you're
100%
paying your
illegal at this
dues, you
point.
don't get raided that often.
In theory, but you'd still pay attention for that.
Yeah, but the police come in and they yell things like police. Very different than just somebody screaming. Although you still would think somebody would have, but everybody there seems to think that they didn't hear or see anything.
Well, and the other side is, the police wouldn't go in and raid the place. The police would go in and set up and just take money, and whoever didn't pay, they would get arrested.
Oh no, occasionally they would go and raid the places. If
They do, but usually it's because you didn't pay up.
Well, yeah, if you're paying protection money and that sort of thing, but occasionally they would still have to go and hit the places if there was, they'd do it for political motivations, basically.
You guys could see if they were paying protection money.
But point being, there should still be some sort of attention being paid for that sort of thing, unless the murder was just completely silent.
Either that, or they have a specific alarm that they use for that. Like, it's the cops, we ring the bell. If it's not the cops, nobody pays attention, nobody cares.
But again, this could add another element to it, because I don't think in any of the other places has there been anywhere where you reasonably could expect a witness to be around to have heard it. Here, there should have been somebody that heard something. So if they didn't...
That's a very good likelihood.
If they didn't, then there's probably some other aspect causing the sound to be covered up. So we may have a new element here.
Yeah, it's possible.
Also to note, this sort of business wasn't entirely illegal in Britain until the much later 1800s.
So,
No, but again,
what if,
there would be political raids and that sort of thing, and
Yes, yeah, it's a complicated issue by the looks of it.
so what if it's not the power going out, but like some sort of field just stops everything? Like stops light, stops sound.
Just stops people paying attention. It doesn't even need to stop all of those.
Mhm.
But given what it's doing to the electricity, maybe yes.
Well, yeah, but like even the animals are missing from all of it. Like I remember that they were talking about like there wasn't even animal sounds during the power outs in at least our case.
Yes.
Magic and evil pixies.
We're not evil. Ignore that.
I was meaning the small winged ones.
Yeah, we're not evil, but that doesn't mean there aren't evil pixies around.
I mean, anything's possible. Any other questions about this case?
I think it may be worthwhile going down there just to interview. They may not be willing to talk to the cops, but maybe they'd be willing to talk to somebody else, like, just to see if anything else was heard. I would say let's keep it in our back pocket for now. But if no one actually heard anything, then that could point to a new element.
At this distance of time, they might not even remember what they heard.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, we're moving on to the next one.
Yep,
Yes. We're coming up
sounds
on noon.
reasonable.
Does anybody need a break?
I'm good.
I'm alright for the moment.
I'm good.
We're good, yeah.
Okay. So Bill Rogers. This one's again middle class. He I can't spell haberdashery. He's a hat maker.
HABERDASHIRY.
There you go. He was found in a shop. He's well, he was found in pieces in his shop.
Kind of what?
He was found in pieces in his shop. The next morning when the his workers came in, one thought it was odd that it was unlocked because like let me rephrase. It's not quite right. So they expect it to be unlocked when they come into work, but like when they leave work, it's locked. And if he was in there by himself, how did it get unlocked if he was dead? Does that make any sense? So they think that whoever killed him left it unlocked. but the workers said they couldn't think of who he would have let in because he was much like a certain case you're working. He was very cantankerous. He was a very grumpy, angry man. His wife actually left him, and at this point he's in his 60s, and his wife left him like 30 years ago, which is almost unheard of for a woman to just take her kids and leave. But he was, and had been for a very long time, a very mean-spirited guy. Um, um, Again, he was a lot like the case you're currently working. He didn't like Catholics. He didn't like, seemed to dislike women as a whole at this point after his wife left. The workers are all guys. He didn't like any of this newfangled people who had been changed, anything to do with the supernatural, anything to do with magic, any of that. He hated it all. And anybody who had anything to do with any of it. Would have happened during the power outage. Like I said, they're having a hard time thinking of who he would have just let in. Because he usually locked the door right after everybody left and only unlocked it when it was time to start work again. The blood was weird. Like, if my head is here and my right arm is 20 foot over there, there should be a trail of blood between the two. No, there really isn't. There's no blood tracked out. And of course, nobody saw anything. Lots of people didn't like him. But none of it's really enough to go, wow, so then I dismembered him. Right? Like, it's just.
So no strange children.
1751. Yeah. As a nuisance. Yeah, in the US, there are still states that have laws that say things like 3 unrelated women can't live in the same house. It's how they tried to stop brothels.
Oh yeah, California is one of them.
Yeah, several of the states actually, it's still technically on the books. It's just nobody actually upholds that law. They don't come after you for the law. And nobody's challenged it to get it taken off the books. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah.
Didn't Kansas just recently pass where you cannot have 3 unrelated people living in the same house? Just people in general?
Really? No, I hadn't heard that. I wonder why.
To make multiple families renting out a house illegal.
Why would they do that?
Capitalism.
Landlords. Yep.
Yeah.
Now I need to learn more. Shawnee passed last year prohibits more than 3 unrelated people from living together in a single residence. Wow. So it's not all of Kansas, it's Shawnee. Being challenged. Or was challenged. I wonder if it went through. Well, I can't find if how the challenge went. Oh, there. I hate all the ads when you're trying to read stuff. Who we choose to live with is none of the government's business, yeah? Officials have declined to comment.
I think it's
I still
North
can't find whether the
Dakota.
challenge worked or not. But okay, we'll look into that later. That's not anything to do with what we're doing now. Sorry, rabbit hole. But yeah, he was basically torn asunder. Interestingly enough, they think that they used like the kitchen shears and some of the stuff that was in there. Like that, because the weapons, quote unquote, weapons, tools that were used were stuff that they found in the haberdashery. So whoever did it didn't come in with stuff to kill him.
Stunned.
That is one we hadn't considered yet because we hadn't found the murder weapon for any of the prior cases. Does any of it looks? Do the patterns seem like they'd be similar with any of the stuff we've seen so far with the later cases?
Kathleen Thomas, they had to have brought it in. Nothing was missing from the kitchen or anything like that. See, George Phillips.
No, but I'm asking like the weapons that was used here. Does it look like maybe they took it with them and were using it in later cases?
Nope. The weapons that were used in this case are still there.
Oh, okay.
The body's there. The only one that the body's missing is Kathleen's. Several of them, the weapon, whoever brought the weapon in took the weapon out with them. And this one, they seem to have just used what was on hand. Which is part of the problem that it's really kind of should have been gorier than it was. Because it's not like they had an axe or a hatchet and yet they dismembered him and tossed the pieces around, type of thing.
And a good butcher's knife is all you would really need.
Which, I mean, he makes hats. He has stuff that goes through leather. So it's still unusual and gory. But it's not as gory as it should be, so it's messed up. Any other questions on Rogers?
Nope.
Nope. All right. The husband and wife, Diane and Scott Allen. In this case, they say the husband did it. He was arrested immediately. He actually had blood on all over him. That's at least what the newspaper said. So he's actually convicted already. He's in prison, right? You guys find out that, yeah, he had blood on him, but he claims that he found his wife dead and that he was like, he found his wife on the floor bloody and he went and he like scooped her up to hold her near him. And that's how the blood got on him. They had been fighting. He had been accused of domestic violence.
What was she like? Because so far, all the victims have been cads and unfaithful.
So, season jail. So, not that it made the. This is another one that's not a great neighborhood. So Diana was not faithful, had not been faithful. She was on probably her third or fourth affair. All of her affairs are with other women. Scott has a drinking problem and has a holding a job problem. They've been married for about 5 years. He's had about 6 jobs. She's had 3 affairs. Their relationship is messy.
And was this another just multiple stab wounds?
They actually believe that she was strangled first, and then her tongue was cut out, her eyes were cut out, parts of her body were sliced off. It's bad. She wasn't so much as stabbed as she was after the fact.
Mutilated.
Mutilated. Yeah, mutilated would be a good way of putting it.
Are tabloids a thing yet?
Try that again, River.
Are tabloids a thing? You know, the alien stole my baby rag papers.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go buy one and read read what's going on, because there's probably some truth in there.
The
Okay.
Penny Dreadful sort of serializing shocking
Dime store
stories of the
novels.
day. Yeah.
Penny Dreadfuls, yep.
Rather than, because even daily papers aren't exactly common to, they're becoming common, but they're not exactly common at this point.
But I know where she's at. Yeah. She's looking for like the Penny Dreadful type things. All right. Any other questions about Diana's murder?
Were all the parts found?
Of her?
Yeah.
Well,
or were they missing?
They think they have all the parts.
Okay.
But like her breasts were removed. It's bad. It's just bad. Think somewhat along the lines of certain notorious, Jack the Ripper type of thing. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
But again, the blood isn't quite right. Like, he should have been covered from head to toe, and he really wasn't. A modern blood expert might actually say that the blood was from, because he doesn't have, like, cast off on him, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
Any other questions on Diane?
No, I think I'm good.
I think
Okay.
we're good, yeah.
Okay. Last one, or first one, however you want to look at it. Noah Foster. Just want me to do a general one and then decide what questions you have, like we've been doing?
Yes.
All right. So Noah. Noah is again, he's from a wealthy neighborhood. Morgana has a good chance of knowing more about this one.
Oh, I will make a
So this
roll.
is what's above a lord, but not quite into that whole duke range. I think duke is pretty high.
Baron. What you have like lords who are just general lords, and then you have barons, earls, marquises, and then dukes.
Yeah, so he would be more like he would be a baron. He's above a lord, but he's not super high up. So he's a baron. He's took a page from like Henry VIII. He's actually been divorced and is remarried, and he's done this a couple of times. He's on his third wife. But he actually, so it's one of those, it's kind of awful. He basically gets the Catholic Church to declare the marriage never happened. So the woman is,
Absolved.
yeah, well, it's worse than dissolved, because then the children are bastards,
Annulled.
Annulled, yeah.
sort of, but it's the Catholic Church can actually do this where they basically say that the marriage never happened, which makes the children from that marriage bastards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's annulment or absolving the marriage happens when someone's excommunicated from the church, or if they found out that the one of the people was not actually Catholic.
Right. So basically, he's had this done twice. So there are two women who thought they were married and then were basically declared excommunicated and unmarried, and now they have bastard children. And this is what he does when he gets very displeased with a wife. He basically pays the Catholic Church to get rid of the marriage.
What a delightful person.
And it won't be that popular being a Catholic lord. There's not that many of them.
So, like I said,
Due to Henry VIII.
the Morgana would have a good chance of knowing any more rumor mill backgroundy stuff on that one.
11 on a Secret of the Aristocracy.
Okay. So, yeah, he basically, he's related to somebody high enough in the church that he's making this happen between the relationship and money. Pretty much Morgana would have been told, don't marry that guy. Like, most of the families, because he's done this a couple times now, are like, don't marry. And yet he fools some younger woman into thinking that, well, it won't, if they were bad, right? And he seems to be marrying them younger and younger. Each of the wives has gotten a little younger. And sometimes the families are kind of paid off to approve the marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the first thing Morgana would have been told is to stay away from that dude.
Yep.
But yeah, you're aware that the wives have gotten younger and younger. Like his last wife was probably 14-ish, 15. And the families, at least her family, was paid off to not throw a hissy fit and run off with her, because why would anybody let their kid marry that guy? And let's be honest, it's not like he was faithful or anything like that with anybody. So that is who Noah Foster is.
And
Again, several people, like, I don't know, the excommunicated wives, former wives, their families. Lots of people have reason. He was found in his bed. He had been stabbed many, many times. There was this one's a little different in the fact that they believe either one person used two weapons, like very different weapons, or there was two people involved, because there are stab marks and then there's some sort of like axe used. And again, the scene is not as bloody as it should be, and nobody knows nothing, and there was a power outage. And of course, there's not any bloody trail leading out. And nobody saw a bloody human, or elf, or dwarf, or whatever. Questions about Noah?
Who found him?
Um,
It's the household staff, I'm presuming.
yeah. Yep, sorry. Lost train of thought, yeah.
No.
Basically, the male equivalent of a lady's maid, his personal
Butler?
Valet.
butler, like
Valet.
his valet.
Valet.
There you go, valet. That would be the right word. His valet found him. Because the valet went up, much like in your case, went up to bring him breakfast and get his clothes set for the day.
Mm-hmm.
No point getting clothes after that. I mean, funeral clothes, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
Okay, so far all the victims have been terrible humans.
that is a
I would
point.
say the
long and
least
short of it.
terrible would be Diana.
That is a point. They've all been humans, correct? No one's
Yes.
been a boojum?
Correct. Although statistically, that may be important, but maybe not. But yeah, as far as you were saying, River, I think Diana would be the least horrible of them.
And appears to have had the messiest, the most complicated, if not the most complicated death, the most done to her, as it were. Which is probably just coincidence, but with 7 victims, it's not unplausible that one of them wouldn't have been a boojum, given there's only about only 1 in 10 people are boojums, yeah, despite present company.
Yeah, I mean, basically 90% of the population's human. So
but still, every one of them's been unfaithful or
mean.
just mean.
Horrible in some way.
Yep.
At the very least, someone who it's plausible for someone to generate a motive against, a strong motive against that they might not have acted on, but then have been pushed over the edge.
Revenge.
Yeah.
So okay, so in A Penny Dreadful, is there any talks about monsters or creatures that do this kind of stuff?
There's several fae beings. I don't know of, and maybe British Joel or Brad would know of any quote unquote monsters that would do this. Other than fae. Because I would think that there would be several fae that involved with revenge. But I don't know of any other British monsters.
Not really a specific monster or anything like that I can think of. I mean, vengeful spirits are a possibility.
Yeah, vengeful ghost, or I can't think of any particular fae.
I mean,
Not
they
necessarily,
are just
not
a
necessarily in the
mixed
system
bag
as
of whatever.
yeah, spirits of various sorts being able to possess people and do things is
Yeah.
plausible.
Okay, so
Are
fae, evil
red
spirits. Sorry, what, River?
Are red caps the British one, or were those more Irish?
Red caps exist in 1879, but they're weird creatures that attack people on moorlands rather than a specific type of fae, actually, if I recall correctly.
Well, they are a fey creature, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different possibilities with it. But basically, any of the unseelie could potentially be involved in something like this. Um, hmm. Now, as far as anything that has any other leads that we could look into, the two that stick out to me would be to interview at the brothel just to see if anyone actually did hear anything, where there may have been some other sort of witnesses or something like that, or the other one would be, since Scott Allen is still incarcerated, to try and interview him and try to get more information on the circumstances of how he came upon his wife. What happened? Did he witness anything else? Because I'm sure most of that was just glossed over when they incarcerated him.
Well, I can go and talk to Mr. Allen if you go and talk to people at the brothel. That seems the sensible division of labour.
Well, would the brothel be more interested in speaking with you? I don't know if they'd be more forthcoming.
They might be, but I do my best to avoid the worst of scandals. They may be more forthcoming to me, I suppose.
I mean, I'll go ask, but just as far as what's our best chance of getting an answer.
Well, yes, it may be. That may be the best approach, I suppose.
Alternatively, we could all go.
Sorry, Betsy wanted to tell off Gotti, and I missed. So Morgana's going to the prison, and Nigel is
I
going
think
to the
Morgana's-
brothel.
I think we're all going to go to the brothel and then possibly all to the prison at this stage. It was pointed out that they might be more willing to talk to Morgana than one of the gentlemen.
It's possible. Okay, so everyone's going to the prison to try to interview the one guy.
Well,
Are you guys wanting to
where
take
do we
Paul
want to go
with?
first? I think
Go
taking
ahead.
Paul with to the prison would be the best bet because he would get, be able to actually get us in there.
Yeah.
Taking the detective with us would make sense. Which would probably make sense to do that one first.
Yeah, so if we want to go there first, and then, yeah, I'm betting the brothel would be more willing to speak outside of the presence of the police.
Mm-hmm. So I hear we're off to the prison.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Paul will make it a lot easier to get in to be able to talk to the prisoner. You guys end up in basically like it's like one of those little cells where you get to talk to your lawyer. You know what I mean?
Right.
They show them in the prisons and stuff. So it's a little crowded because there's 6 of you with Paul. 5 of you with Paul. 6 of you with the guy. Alan is he's dirty and scraggly looking, but he's been in prison for what, 6 months, 7 months? Yeah, probably about 7 months. And this is back in the days before they had to like give you haircuts and stuff like that. Sorry, can you guys give me 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead. Do we want to take a break here? It's been a little bit.
Doesn't seem
I think that sounds fair.
Didn't know if anybody
That
else
sounds a
wanted
good
to
plan.
step away.
Yeah.
Yes. A break sounds like a great plan. 10 minutes, fine?
Yeah, should be fine.
Yep.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Alrighty, I'm back on my end.
Cool. Try that again. Cool.
Looks like everybody's back.
Yep.
I'm here.
Okay, so Morgana has a decent roll on her first impressions and a good roll on her conversation. Anybody else doing anything like first impressions or conversation that I should know about?
I've got empathic sense, so I'll give that a roll actually.
That's a good idea.
I can give conversation a roll. I don't think I'm going to contribute much.
You might.
We'll see.
So picking empathic sense up as a free skill at some point soon.
Yep, just a 7.
Okay.
It's a bit better, 11 on empathic sense. Oh, cost a strain.
Okay. So, who's going to start talking?
Well, Morgana will introduce us as normal and explain that we are here investigating, at least in part, the death of your wife.
So he immediately jumps to the fact that you must be here to help him prove that he's innocent. which he thinks is awesome because everybody has immediately jumped to that he's guilty. But he's, of course, not guilty.
If you could tell us about that night, everything you can remember could be useful in this.
Double check something before I misspeak. Okay. So he says, I must have been coming home from work. And I came into the house and it was quiet. And then I walked into the kitchen and she was on the floor and she wasn't moving. So I mean, I immediately went to try to wake her up, to give her a little shake, to see what was wrong. And I was just overwhelmed with sadness at her being gone. I mean, she's my wife. And I held her. And that's why there was all the blood on me, because I held her.
Did you?
And then I went and I tried to get help. I tried to get someone to get the police. And when they showed up, they arrested me and they claimed that I did it.
Do you remember your walk home from work? Do you remember arriving at the house?
What was the empathic sense one again? Who had that?
That was me, and that was an 11.
So he says it must have been just normal like every other night when I get off work. Your empathic sense, do you have investigation or anything like that? Evidence analysis?
Evidence analysis, yeah, it's the
Roll that for me.
fashion still. Cool. Hang on. 8d6. I shall lob a point of karma in just as may as well.
That's what karma's for.
Indeed. And it's just done me right. Because that's 10 on a karma, so 19 total.
Nice. So people don't say things like, I must have been coming home from work.
No.
It must have been like every other night. That doesn't quite make sense for I remember exactly what happened. At the same time, he doesn't come off as if he's lying. It reminds you quite a bit of a certain someone else.
Yeah. Certain gruff troll woman, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I shall bear that in mind.
But yes, to his Morgana, his answer is it must have been just like every other time I come home from work.
And you do that so often you can barely tell whether you're remembering that night or the night before. Of course. Could you? I'm sure you've been at this before. Our investigation suggested that your marriage was a difficult one. I'm sorry to ask these questions, but you understand. We need to understand everything about this case.
There's a shift in his demeanor, and like a rigid, bottled anger that you can just it's almost tenable. Like it's so just under the surface. This kind of resentment, rage. My wife wasn't a good wife. I tried, and there's a sadistic glint in his eye. Biblical methods of making sure she'd be a good wife. It didn't work well. But And it shifts. It almost like Jekyll and Hyde shifts on you, where he goes back to this so happy, someone's on his side type of thing, but it's not my fault that she couldn't be a good wife.
How does that come across on the empathic sense when he shifts? Can I tell?
Oh, I mean, it's even if you weren't empathic at the moment, yeah, like it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. It's that nasty, and the shift is so hard that it's jarring to the two of you who are using empathic sense. Even at the 7, like it's jarring how quick that came and went. One second, I have to respond to. So, out of character, a certain someone who people don't know as Magic-y is doing some Magic-y astral sight things.
What?
And so that's the thing. His pattern, especially when he's talking about, when he was talking about, well, okay. Did you turn it on? When did you turn it on? Because it might matter.
When we first started to see the shift, while the questioning was going
Okay.
on, that's where I triggered it.
So the shift, there's nothing magical about the shift. That's who this man is. He goes from this mild-mannered type of thing to a rage in a blink of an eye. That's who that man is. However, the pattern is off. Like, kind of further at the edges. Like it reminds you of a certain someone else. But, what is it? Magical theory.
I do not have that.
Oh, well, never mind then. Morgana, you were questioning him. He just told you about how he tried biblical methods to get his wife to be a good wife, but they didn't work.
Had you tried being a good husband to her?
That kind of anger starts to bubble up again. Are you insinuating that I'm not man enough? And if looks were a physical nastiness, you would be like, yeah. And he kind of looks you over. What's Morgana wearing? Is she wearing pants? Because I think she wears pants a lot.
She mostly wears pants. It's sort of essentially something that's cut somewhere between. Yeah, it's definitely feminine. Yeah, she's not dressed as a bloke, but she's wearing.
But she's still wearing pants.
Trousers. Yes, yeah.
And he looks Morgana over and basically, oh, you're like she was, aren't you? Yeah, I know exactly what type you are.
Do you want our assistance or not? Or would you rather rot here?
It's a struggle for him to get that rage under control. And then he kind of bites out, I was a great husband. We always pay our bills on time. There's money for her to wear ribbons and whatever girl stuff she should have been wearing. It's just too bad she couldn't be a good wife.
Were you a good husband to have her to hold, to love and protect? It's not just about paying bills.
Well, let's keep it focused on what happened. When you were coming home, did you notice anything that happened with the lights?
Is your astral still on?
Yes.
He refocuses and to pay attention to what you're asking, and he goes, I think the lights are fine. And that's when you kind of get this like shimmer in the pattern.
All right. When you said when you came in, you saw her body on the kitchen floor. Did you? She was very brutally dismembered. Did you notice the extent of the damage? And what details can you remember of finding her?
You can tell that he's honestly thinking about this, and he almost seems like he turns a little green, and he says it was disgusting, whatever the monster, whatever that did to her. Again, you're gonna Bill see that shimmer, that kind of distortion in his pattern again.
Do you know what the monster was?
I just assume it was a monster. What else? Who else could do something like that? I mean, she was a bad wife, but
What made you think it was a monster? Did you notice teeth, claw marks, any other signs in your home?
no, no. I mean, and he's struggling.
Yeah, I'm
And you're
intentionally
gonna
putting pressure
feel
to
like
try and
that.
get him to
Yeah,
remember stuff and push
his
against whatever
pattern
this
is
is.
getting. The more he's struggling, the more that the pattern feels like it's distorting a bit. No, there were no. It and he just kind of looks at his hands.
River
So
casually
so much.
touches Morgana's hand, and is like, "Do you have any more thoughts, Morgana?"
He's looking at his hands, and he just kind of blinks a bit, and just there's so much blood on. I don't. And like I say, he looks a little green. Looks a little ill at this point.
Morgana will gather herself a little and then well, it sounds like you were not man enough to either please your wife, and from what I've heard, she was a modern woman who understands that there is supposed to be pleasure for both people involved, and you weren't man enough to do anything about it or stop her or convince her otherwise. I will use taunt for that. And Morgan is ready. Morgana is readying herself for trouble.
Wrong character, Thon.
Yes.
What's your? Sorry,
13
what was that,
on a
August?
taunt. That was me being told off for using the wrong character name.
Oh, all right. What's your
Yeah.
taunt roll?
13.
Okay. So that shift that's very jarring to the empathic people who are using that, it shifts real hard. And he said some stuff that Brad would yell at me if I said, because I'm not supposed to say all those words right now.
To be clear,
That's my-
I won't yell at you. YouTube will.
I don't care what YouTube thinks. But so he uses those types of words, and they're not nice, and basically kind of lunges towards Morgana a bit. He's chained down at his ankle, so he doesn't get very far. I will need a initiative roll, because just because he's chained at the ankle doesn't mean he can't hit you, because you're across the table.
4 on my initiative roll.
That's not so great. Anybody else over there going to intervene who might have a better initiative?
I got an 8.
Okay.
Hang on.
I'm just checking my defensive talents.
I mean, you don't have to win initiative to use a void blow.
Yep.
That's true.
I've got a void blow. I was just checking the specific wording of riposte. And given I haven't given him a knife and I haven't
Oh,
given a knife,
you're gonna
I
slap
don't
him back?
intend to. I can't do it to while unarmed at the moment. I don't have claw riposte skill, Nick.
All right, August, you also have a 9, and you are with the party, so you'll get to go first. You can totally see that he's about to lunge.
Yeah, I don't actually have any unarmed skill, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in between him and Morgana.
Okay. What is your physical defense?
9.
9?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He has a 10 to basically punch you.
Yep. That's fine.
Now-
I don't have dodge or anything either, so I'm just going to have to take it.
Well,
Oh, Morgana, August took the punch for you.
I was gonna say, is he? So is he acting between me and August?
So is what the table? Sorry, what's between you guys? River?
I'm at, because I got an 8 on my initiative.
Well, so you can go F. You can go next. August and him have 9s. Then would be your 8. Then the 4. So, August, you're only going to take 4 points of damage.
Yeah, I'm on a 3, so I ain't doing anything.
Because it's a punch from across the table, and you got in front of it, so it's not like where he was hitting is exactly hitting where, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
more of a glancing blow than a true punch at that point. Now we're on 8. So River,
I will punch him.
okay?
$19 to hit.
Oh yeah, no, that'll hit. That'll hit with
We do need him conscious to answer questions.
two successes. Almost 3.
Only 8 damage.
Okay. So he tries to punch Morgana. August jumps in front, takes the blow. River punches him for Morgana.
We'll stand up, step to make sure I'm out of his reach and ushering other people back. And then just say, has anyone got any idea quite what is causing him to swing in moods quite so violently? She will have picked up her brolly. Her umbrella will be ready to use it to defend herself. Though she's not drawing the actual sword that's inside it yet.
Paul will say something about him being a piece of shite. But Paul doesn't get to act yet, but he can say that. I don't know if anybody else says anything.
Possibly, just his whole not being man enough. Women had to step up for him.
I think it's more than that. Look at his eyes.
Well, he'll say something about what the hell do you think is wrong with my eyes, but it is, unless you're doing something else, it's Brad's turn.
Well, I mean, are we still in initiative at this point? I would think he'd be restrained by now.
Well, he's chained, but it's not Paul's turn. Paul's going to restrain him further, but everybody else so River and August have kind of moved back because River moved. So sorry, Morgana moved back, and as far as I understand, she kind of ushered August back with her. River, I don't know if River moved back, although she was waved to move back.
Oh no,
I don't know
she'll be right in his face.
So River's still right up there, giving him a target. So no, we're not out of initiative because he's not restrained further, and River is still
Then River, step back and watch him.
All right, step back.
All right. Are you doing anything else, Nigel?
Well, I'm just trying to get people to watch his behavior while he's sitting there struggling.
Paul, however, has police officer training, and so when he went and did that, Paul basically moved around because nobody's noticing, nobody's really paying attention to Paul, and basically slams him down so that he's pinned to the table by his upper back. Like elbow into, between the shoulder blades, pushing him down. So between that and him being ankle tethered to the floor, he's now much more contained. He is, however, saying some really horrible stuff about women, about River, Morgana.
Morgana will change tack somewhat and try and say some more placating things to him to see if we can get him to swing the other way by, if not agreeing with his statements, but at least trying to sound like she's sympathetic. Though that might be an effort. I could make a diplomacy test.
Empathic, especially probably maybe August. August, you have streetwise too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right, roll your streetwise.
Yes, for the record, Morgana is entirely trying to do good cop, bad cop as a solo act, just briefly to see what it does.
Good luck with that.
Just watch his behavior when he's pressed for details.
8, 10, 16 on the streetwise.
Okay. You've seen this type of thing before. Usually it's people with mental health disorders. And the mood swings can be erratic.
Mm-hmm.
You've also seen people who have drug habits do this. And like at this point, until he tuckers himself out, it's going to be hard to get him to do anything other than first swing. You know what I mean? Like until he basically gets out of the I'm on attack mode, you're not going to get shit. So if you want to press him for details again, he's got to chill the hell out. And that may take time. Or removing maybe River and Morgana. But you're not sure, but since he's in the jail and probably doesn't have access to as much drugs, if that was one of the problems, your guess between the empathic sense and Streetwise having seen, unfortunately, people who have major mental health disorders end up on the street. So you've seen it a few too many times. This guy has major mental health disorder. Probably what we now refer to as manic depressive.
Yeah.
But he's got a bad case of it. Add in some obvious problems with women and a whole bunch of other things going on there, but yeah.
Ladies,
So,
Yes.
may I suggest that you both step outside, please? Just to test the theory.
Yes, that
Okay.
would probably be the best. I was hoping for a reaction, but possibly not quite that spectacular. We'll exit the
well,
room.
you got a reaction. He's all but frothing. I mean, you got a reaction.
He has a sturdy jaw.
Outside the room, because obviously for River's benefit, Morgana will actually go and prop herself up against the wall and take a few deep breaths. She's clearly not quite used to that level of confrontation.
He was going to try some biblical stuff to make sure you behaved. All right, so River, you step out.
Yeah,
Morgana
I'll
steps
step out.
out. I'm going to assume that Nigel and August try to be like kind of bad, good cop with the, women, glad they're out of the room.
Well, my
It's chill.
intention was, Officer Robinson, could you please get his attention for us?
Oh, Robinson is going to be like, if you calm down, I'm going to let you up, but you got to calm down. He's doing that whole low tone, easy, like, you just got to chill, and then I can let you up. You got to chill out. And it does take a little bit. It takes a few minutes before he gets himself kind of back under control. He says some very nasty things about women and certain types of women that I will not repeat. I'm sure your brains can fill that all in. It was not
Absolutely.
We got him calm at this
nice.
point.
Robinson lets him up. Yeah, he calms back down. He's still kind of pissy, but he's not swinging, frothing, angry type of thing. And Robinson's like, let's get back to what's important, which is what happened the night your wife died.
I'm gonna get down to eye level with him. That not within range of him, but down where I'm looking face to face with him.
Okay.
All right, men. You need to focus. Think through this fog. We need details. Was the door locked when you came in? And I'll just start rattling a bunch of things off. Did you what did you see with the lights? I'll just rattle a bunch of things just to try and force him to think.
I want you to do another astral, because with all the commotion, your concentration kind of probably got shot for a little bit.
Well, I had something else I was going to do.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I'm just rattling off a bunch of questions. I'll ask them slow and calm, but I want to give him a bunch just to get him focusing so that he's buttoned up against whatever's affecting him.
Got it.
And when I can see that hitting him, I want to try to throw a dispel. I don't know how this is going to go.
Interesting. I would like to see what happens.
Okay, that's a good sign. Just to be sure, I'm going to throw Karma. That's a 25.
Lovely.
I rolled
Roll
it up.
astral again.
Okay. Yeah, that one was good. Carmen made it better. That's an 11.
So the more he tries, the more that is really just fucking with his. And the dispel is weird because he's not technically under a spell right now. But it's almost
No, but the
trying
spell
to
will affect other magical effects.
right, which is where I was going. But it's almost as if it's calming whatever's going on with his aura. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's having an effect, and he just starts. He starts kind of freaking the hell out, actually. Oh my god. Oh my god. All the blood, so much blood. Why is she licking the blood? Oh my god, there's so much blood. Oh my god, I killed her. And then he just starts crying. Like he is like huddled up into a ball crying. Muttering about blood and that he killed her.
Do I get anything extra on the empathic sense when he says, "Oh my god, I killed her"?
That rings very, very true. But there's so much, there's this fear and anger, and it's so tangled. It's like he had a moment where he clearly saw whatever, or at least part of whatever happened, and so much anger and so much hatred, yet there was love, and yet there was fear. And it's not her fear. Like, he doesn't care about her fear. Like, flat out, this man does not actually care about her fear. He actually likes her being afraid, right? But he was afraid.
Yeah. Okay.
Paul is confused as fuck. That is what Paul is. And he's kind of looking at you two going, what the just happened?
I think there's something compelling him that we pushed up against.
Then Paul says something about mumbo jumbo, magical, supernatural BS.
Exactly. It's same as what we were seeing with the other woman.
I'm going to assume you guys step out of the room.
Can we get anything else useful out of the man? Can I ask him?
Probably not. You can try, but probably not.
Given he's a gibbering wreck right now, probably not. No.
Yeah. He's kind of a little broken in the moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
Did
I mean,
I
you have to
hear him?
understand, to a degree, he just remembered he killed his wife. He honestly believed he had not done it.
I'm gonna try one last one, just while he's on that thread. Did something make you kill her?
Yeah, you're not getting anything out of him.
Yeah, I didn't know, but
It's a good try. It's worth a try. Like, you can always try. But yeah, I will say this. You broke that. You broke.
You big meanie.
Yeah. That guy
I
has
thought I'd
some
broken him
major
badly.
mental health problems. I just want you to know, that guy had major mental health problems. And he's kind of stupidly didn't know that he killed his wife.
well, he
But,
probably
you know,
did anyway.
no, he did. He totally had mental health problems before all of this. He also totally killed his wife. He just didn't know he had. All right, you guys step out of the room. Paul's going to go and find some guards to, like, I don't know, but that's not his problem. They can go deal with the balled up on the floor
basically,
guy.
they'll just put him back in his cell.
Yeah, but Paul's not doing it, so that's somebody else's goddamn problem. So that leaves the four of you alone for a little bit.
Well, managed to push him up against whatever the compulsion was. That still doesn't give us any idea as to what's causing it.
How did you get him to remember?
I pushed him hard enough, asking for details. I could see it when we were asking questions. Did you notice the change in his demeanor?
Yes. That's why I pushed him, as I did.
Right, but you pushed him into his anger of his normal personality. When we pushed into details of the murder, trying to get him to remember what happened. So he's confessed to it. I don't know how much more we're going to be able to get out of the man once he calms down, if he calms down.
So, how much did he confess to?
Well, he was a blubbering mess. He confessed to the murder. He didn't go into any real details. But it sounds like he wasn't in control of himself while he was doing it.
Hey, August or Nigel, are you looking at the chat?
The chat on Discord, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, did we
Making
hear that?
sure.
Because I don't...
Oh yeah, you heard that. I did not misspeak. That is what he said.
Because I totally actually misheard. I did not hear that.
Yeah, I didn't actually hear you say that, so...
Oh, no, I said it.
Yeah, okay, so if we heard that...
It was mixed in with part of his craziness.
So if we heard that in character, no, fair. I personally did not hear that, so...
Well, okay. That's why I was making sure you guys were looking at that, because your characters heard that. That was said.
And it was...
Well then,
said that.
in that case, then yes, they will share. While he was breaking down, he said something about why is she licking up the blood.
Is something causing people to do these things and then drinking the blood they produce? Don't explain why there's not a lot of blood.
Or
that's not a happy thought, is it?
Or odd patterns to it, at least.
Okay, but who is she?
Who is she?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Because remember, she's licking up the blood. He didn't lick up the blood. She licked up the blood.
and she could not have been his wife because her tongue was cut out.
Well, she was dead at that point. So unless she
Well-
was doing it dead,
Well, but
'cause
yeah,
he strangled her first.
Look,
So there wasn't any blood. She was strangled.
there's a
And then
war
mutilated.
against an army, people who raise an army of the undead on the other side of the portal. So
Well,
just
there is that.
because
But
she's
then the tongue
dead
was cut
doesn't
out.
mean she couldn't have licked up the blood. But her tongue being cut out
Okay.
means that she couldn't.
Well, maybe she. If you're gonna be that way about it, maybe she licked it up before he cut the tongue out. Smarty pants. How you like that?
Did he come in on her cheating?
Sorry, what was the question, River?
So did he come in on her cheating in the kitchen?
They don't know.
He would have probably ranted about that, all things considered.
Right, there probably wouldn't have been only one victim. And even so, why would she lick up the blood?
Some creepy ass stuff. I'm just saying. Creepy.
Yeah.
I'd say it reminds me of a novel that I read once, but it's quite a sensational novel, so I probably shouldn't admit to reading it, says Morgana. Because while Dracula has been written, there's been at least 2 or 3 vampire novels, so...
That is a thing. Although he did not seem to have sexy thoughts about her drinking up the blood, licking up the blood. Whoever her was.
That might be just that despite the fact that how wrong in the head he is, he's still quite wrong in the head. He's not entirely wrong in the head.
There you go. And August, apparently, he did love his wife. He also hated her.
It was complicated,
It was very complicated.
clearly. All right.
Paul will wander back at some point. Still slightly confused about what the Hades just happened. You guys can probably even see when they drag him out. And they literally have to drag him out. He's still crying and, talking about he loved her and how could he do that.
Okay.
So then, something with a magical influence that compelled him to kill his wife and then drank up the blood after the fact.
Well, it didn't compel him to drink up.
No.
Didn't compel him.
Yeah, no, that's not what I said. It compelled
sorry.
him to kill his wife, and then it drank up the blood after the fact, and has apparently a feminine form.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Merry Christmas! Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, vampires, horror stories, a Christmas tradition in the UK.
Oh. All right, we have
Yeah, I mean, A Christmas Carol, right?
right.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure this is totally going to end with Tiny Tim getting the medical help he needs.
Yay! Lucky
Oh,
Tiny
you
Hey,
know.
we're
Tim.
looking to it.
Morgana's a soft spot and has quite a lot of money.
Now I gotta create a damn Tiny Tim character, then figure out how to put him in this mess. Without him getting killed. I'm just saying. Making this hard.
Isn't it supposed to be Mordecai that's spending all the family's money, Morgana?
Well, he's currently missing, so I'm doing it on his behalf. He'd approve.
Ah, fair enough then.
I
Fair
say,
enough.
waving my hand in a well, of course, gesture. You can't see because we're not on camera.
That still
Let
doesn't
us-
answer why the most recent killing has the body missing.
It does not. You're right.
To more conveniently drink the blood, or because
No, because she was found in a pool of her own
the
blood.
The
or the perpetrator decided to move the body so she could render it down to fat, so there was no evidence.
Except for the big pool of blood.
It's not a perfect plan, but I think this thing is causing things to be mad. People to act in the manner of madmen. So
yeah. All I was gonna say could possibly be that Kate is more strong-willed and shook free and realized what she did.
Yeah, I don't particularly want to push her to the point of breaking. She might break my face.
I'll do it.
What? Break my face? No, thank you.
Well, we do have the one other lead that should have had some sort of witness. Or possible
quick question to the ref. Quick question to the ref. Is there some sort of test to spot the fact that Nigel was lying about how he managed to break that effect?
Yes, there is. I mean, I can think of a couple of ways. There's the empathic sense. There's just seeing if you can see if there's any tells that he's lying. So I guess an awareness roll might. It's going to be against his social defense.
Can I just use a charisma test? Because that would generate my social defense, and that's what he'd be technically lying against. Or I can do perception. I don't have awareness or empathic senses yet.
You can do perception.
Well, I'm technically not lying. I'm just not telling the whole truth.
You're admitting something.
Maybe if he rolls high enough, he can tell you're shady.
A mere 6, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of don't think that's going to beat it.
No.
So, nope. No demon. All right. Now, hey, no. Now, did we say we were on or not on for 2 weeks? Because it's the 31st.
No, because I know I'm going to be gone.
Okay. So it'll be a month. Wow, I'm a mean GM. That's all I have to say. I've left you with more questions than answers. And now it'll be a month before we get back. Ha ha ha. GMs are dicks.
So we're looking at the 14th?
Yes, that should be the 14th. And yeah, GMs are dicks. I hate those guys. I do
I
think,
love
however, it
GMs.
was a
They're
fabulous
amazing.
game. And I think you guys did a lot of really good investigation and came up with some very, very good questions that eventually you should get answers for. Oh, that's the other thing I will say. I do believe that Paul thinks that this is totally a possible case for those knights. Yeah, he has definitely decided that this is totally a case for above his goddamn pay grade. Just saying.
Well, he can officially hand it on to us, and then if it's above ours, we can hand it to the knights, I guess.
Well, whether he hands it to the knights does not actually change much for you guys. Because
Yeah, we
it's not like
still.
the knights are going to probably talk to you guys about it, so.
Oh, they may come around asking what we found out so far.
That is actually very true. And they might even let you be like, hey, keep, and they'll keep working. Maybe you guys will make friends with the knights.
Which is always a useful thing.
That's very true. I think that just gets very dependent on how everybody behaves. Why are you guys all looking at River? Stop looking at River like that.
Hey, I behaved very well.
Mug,
There was mention of someone licking up blood. Then we all look at River.
Morgana was not looking
Terrible.
at
Y'all
River.
are
She was
terrible.
Morgana was not looking at River. She was just pondering how, if any of the Knights of the Grail are sort of handsome and dashing to the knights. So yeah, that would be interesting. But she's not admitting that sort of thought out loud. She's a proper young lady. Sort
That's
of.
right. Proper young lady.
Spending all
Well,
the
I mean,
family's
there's Mr.
money.
Fairchild who runs the thing.
So, I wish all of you a happy holidays.
You
I
too.
hope you guys had a good game.
Yep.
I don't think I awarded points last time.
Yeah, let's say.
I think I'm going to award you 1,000 for the 2. How's that, Phil?
No, we got points last time.
Did you?
You gave us 400 last time, but I'm not going to turn down 1,000.
Well, then I'll give you 600 this time, and that'll make 1,000. Because I think you guys did really well. There's a lot of very good investigation going on.
I will
And I
point
also
out
like that
having...
both of you guys, or all of you guys, are thinking about pushing different ways.
And I would point out that given the skill I've managed to get, Morgana has now reached the ability to get to professional rank 3, where one of the skills she will be buying is flirting. Just in time to meet Dishy Grail Knights.
Oh,
There you
gosh,
go.
we're all doomed.
Hey, shush it, you. All right, I'm going to let you go and discuss yet again with my puppy that the cat lives there and is allowed to be on the porch. And that we all don't need to hear that the cat is on the porch. We're aware that she lives there. Batsy.
All right. Well, I think
So,
we'll go ahead
happy holidays,
and
happy
set
New
up the
Year's.
stream here. Yes, thank you everybody who tuned in. Happy holidays for whatever you celebrate, and we will see you in the new year.